It's like the floor moved that way and then recoiled, and then I heard the most horrific sound I've ever heard in my life.
I started opening my store at French Market Mall. I heard this explosion.
And when the bomb went off, it shook our building on Britton and Penn.
We hear this big explosion and the roof starts caving in on us. And I yelled for everybody to get under their desk or their tables.
And then all of a sudden, I was lifted off the floor.
I really didn't think we were going to make it. I mean, because it devastated that building totally.
I can't tell you if I was blown over, if I jumped, but all I know is I'm going over my desk, and I ended up on the other side on the floor.
On April 19th, 1995, at 9:02 a.m., a bomb tore through the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. The echo of the blast extended beyond the borders of the city and state. The impact of that April morning would change the lives of thousands and forever alter the mindset of the state and country. Educators, religious leaders, and public figures reflected on the bombing. Randy Swanson was working as the press secretary for Oklahoma Congressman Frank Lucas. Swanson and his co-workers were at their office just south of the Murrah Building.
I remember getting out in the street. It was just surreal. It was like a bad movie. Everywhere you looked was glass in the streets and people running. There wasn't a lot of pandemonium. People weren't screaming. They were just running, getting away.
To the northwest, less than a mile away, some students and teachers at Emerson North were emerging from battered buildings.
That's where our fire drill procedures kicked in. We moved everybody to the parking lot to see what was going on.
Sherry Reed and Luann Blair's classrooms were inside a demountable building and sustained heavy damage. The temporary structures sat where the parking lot is currently located.
You couldn't get to the door by any means. They had to get us out of there. We were in there probably more than an hour, I know.
Pamela Boston's classroom was inside the original high school building.
I remember looking towards the north, and I saw doctors from St. Anthony. They were running. They were running towards the Murrah Building.
Murphy, this is one of the critical.
Skylights down, pews broken to smithereens. Yeah, it's the most awful thing, and I could see the end wall had crumbled out, the beautiful Tiffany stained glass windows, all gone.
Reverend Nick Harris and staff were inside the First United Methodist Church, about a block from the federal building. Due to its proximity to the explosion, the house of worship was one of many structures to be included in the investigation.
These guys came busting in from all over the place. The fellow came to me and he said, "Listen, this is off scene for you. You can't be here." And I said, "Well, why not?" I said, "I'm the pastor of this church." He said, "It doesn't matter. This is a federal crime scene, and we're FBI, and you've got to leave."
It would be 3 years before Reverend Harris would hold a service in the sanctuary again.
Well, we want you up here so when we get the baby, we can come and find you, all right? Just stand up here by the...
I jumped up out of my chair, and I charged out the door into the lobby, and I pulled up my cell phone, and I started dialing. And I couldn't get a response from my office.
Congressman Frank Lucas was at a meeting in Fort Worth, Texas, along with other Oklahoma representatives, when he learned about the explosion. Lucas represented Oklahoma's 6th district at the time, which included the Murrah Building.
And even though I'd seen television pictures in the airports on the way home, nothing could prepare any of us for the magnitude of what had happened at the Murrah Building.
We thought, we got to get people out of here. We don't know what's going on.
Teachers at Emerson North were trying to maintain their composure while tending to their students.
Focus was on our students, making sure that they were able to get in contact with parents, making sure that they were okay, because there were some that weren't. There were students who had parents that worked downtown. Teachers and teens would depart from Emerson on April 19th and not return to the school until the following Monday, April 24th. Several hours after the explosion, Randy Swanson left downtown Oklahoma City to meet up with his wife and son, who had just walked out of an ultrasound appointment. Randy and his wife were expecting their 3rd child.
And I'll never forget this moment. I got off the elevator as they're walking out the doctor's office, and David's first words, the little boy, "Dad, I'm having another brother." And that was the third boy in our family. That's all we had. And you know, there's all this stuff happening downtown, and he's excited about a new life coming to our family. And I remember that vividly.
Let there be no room for doubt. We will find the people who did this. When we do, justice will be swift, certain, and severe.
In the chaotic hours and days that followed, residents and investigators were on high alert, desperately looking for answers. The city's Islamic community became the focus for some frightened citizens.
An employee actually in a different store in Midwest City who was actually going to see his family in Jordan. And as he was leaving his house along with his friend, right after the explosion, the neighbor saw two Middle Eastern guys leaving rather quickly and called the FBI.
In the immediate aftermath, some politicians were drawing parallels between the Murrah Building attack and the World Trade Center bombing just 2 years earlier, in which the suspects had Middle Eastern backgrounds. On April 20th, investigators released sketches of two potential suspects.
Before you know it, you say John Doe number 1, which looks like my friend, and Joe number 2, which looks a lot like me.
We told everybody that we have great confidence in our law enforcement agencies. They will give us the answer. We should not hurry. Many of us hurried, jumped to conclusion, and many people paid the price.
With his community under public scrutiny and fears mounting, Nchasi went to the FBI.
I actually went to the FBI and turned myself in. Are you guys looking for me and my friend? But I did not go there to say that he was innocent. I went there to actually clear my name. That's the power of the media. That's the power of people just being irresponsible with their reporting.
I am pleased to announce that one of the individuals believed to be responsible for Wednesday's terrible attack on the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City has been arrested.
Timothy McVeigh was arrested by federal authorities on Friday, April 21st. Authorities found McVeigh in the Noble County Jail. He had been arrested by Oklahoma Highway Patrol Trooper Charlie Hanger less than an hour and a half after the bombing. The trooper stopped McVeigh for driving a vehicle without a proper license tag. The trooper arrested McVeigh for possession of a loaded firearm.
I don't feel like a hero. I just did my job. Troopers out there on the road every day and other law enforcement officers that do the same thing. I'm no different than they are.
McVeigh's accomplice, Terry Nichols, turned himself in on April 21st in Harrington, Kansas, 75 miles outside of Wichita. Nichols was arrested and taken into federal custody on April 22nd.
A day and a half, Timothy McVeigh was caught, and people moved to a totally different story.
I can remember pulling my staff together and reminding them that every person who'd been in that building were to be regarded as a constituent. I didn't care what congressional district they lived in, they were constituents and we were to respond.
The loss associated with this blast not only makes it the most catastrophic dollar loss in American history for a terrorist act, but in Oklahoma, it's without doubt the greatest loss to the public and private sectors ever.
In the days, weeks, and months that followed, Congressman Lucas and his staff worked to provide support to those impacted by the blast.
I had a responsibility to make sure the federal government was doing everything possible to help facilitate the city and the state and the county's efforts, and to address the needs of those federal employees.
And we worked with all those churches and office buildings and whatnot to get some relief, because it was a lot of dollars that were expended, that were lost through that, and we did get a relief package through Congress to come and restore downtown.
First Church was one of the many entities that received assistance from the federal government, but help also came from many other sources. Reverend Harris was given office space in the First National Building, and his congregation found a temporary home at Trinity Baptist Church, not far from downtown.
Everything that we needed was supplied, and it just was a reminder to me of how, in the midst of chaos, that God's still God. In the midst of everything that man can do, God does His best. And He's never failed me.
Retired Fire Captain Gene Brown spent days at the site combing through debris.
So the first couple of days was very chaotic. From there, it just really got to just doing the job. That's what we were doing. From filling buckets with rocks to searching to dealing with all the other entities that were there. We had to be more methodical about it because overzealousness in a situation like that can cause more damage than good.
But if there was a call for supplies or another need, it was filled.
People truly don't understand the Oklahoma Standard until they were there. I think for a lot of people it's an idea and it's a wonderful thought, but it's a reality. It was a reality down there. It showed everybody's true colors. Anything you needed, you had. No questions. The support from the city and the citizens and everybody, people around the country that were sending anything that you could dream of.
When we came back to school, there was amazing amount of mail and packages and gifts from all over the U.S. and abroad.
One of the gifts that arrived can still be seen on the corner of 6th and Walker.
Our school sign that's here on 6th and Walker came from the high school in New York. And it says just so from Tim McVeigh's high school in New York that they donated that to our school.
As students and teachers filtered back into Emerson Alternative High School, they were also greeted by counselors and counseling students from Oklahoma State University.
Here every day, and from April 20th to May 30th, every day that year. And if it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't have had a prom, we wouldn't have had a yearbook, because a lot of most of the teachers in the Bountiful, I think, were pretty affected by it. And not to saying that the ones in the main building weren't. Trying to cope ourselves, we were trying to keep our students coping, we kind of, and still carry on.
You couldn't be there and not be affected. Makes you think more about finding your happiness. Whatever your happy place is. We do so many things, as anybody, all of us do, that we get into situations that we didn't realize we were in. And sometimes you don't know that until you get out of it. And I think that, one of the things I got, long lasting from the bombing was thinking of, I need to be happy today. I can't wait for it to come, I have to find it.
For Brown, the happiest place to be was with his children.
I didn't realize at the time before that, I was kind of living my life and their life simultaneously, but not necessarily together. I worked a lot, I had things like, things that kept me away. So you really need to get in perspective that when you're there, you need to be there.
We have no promises of tomorrow,
Swanson also walked away with a greater appreciation for time with family and the little moments peppered throughout his day.
So that's what you learn is, we have no promises of tomorrow. So, it sounds trite and cliched, but hug your kids, love your wife, and, make the most of every day. Don't take it for granted.
For the freshman representative, the events of 1995 brought on a sense of heightened awareness.
I went from being a puppy member of the United States House, someone who'd been raised and lived his entire life in Oklahoma. Certainly I'd watched on television and I'd read in the publications about the horrible things that had occurred and do occur around the world. But I suppose deep down inside I thought, this can't happen here. How could this happen here? This is Oklahoma. It's the heart of the country. So it changed my perspective that we have to be ever vigilant at all times.
I'm just damn glad to be an Okie. I can tell you that for sure from the bottom of my heart.
It's a feeling that was shared across the country, and most certainly in the halls of Congress. Lucas and his fellow Oklahoma delegates worked tirelessly on a new anti-terrorism bill. In 1996, President Bill Clinton signed the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act. The act gave law enforcement officers and prosecutors new tools to combat terrorism, including funding for a counterterrorism center and increased security measures across the nation.
Things have never been the same with security in these buildings. Just people are more wary, a little bit more cautious of. I don't want to make it seem like we're not trusting of people, but airports are different now, and 9/11 ratcheted it up even more. So it's a different day, and it'll never go back. We lost some innocence that day.
Victims' families had lobbied hard for a limit to the number of federal appeals for death penalty cases. The shortened appeal process was included in the 1996 measure, as was the approval for a closed-circuit telecast of the trials, which were held in Denver.
There's no way everybody's going to be able to go to Denver for this. The FAA we had a secure closed-circuit feed that went to the auditorium at the FAA building down by the airport, but it literally took an act of Congress to do that.
We have one goal and we work together.
As the nation strengthened its security measures, others would find strength in community and spiritual bonds.
So the Interfaith Alliance came together, brought my 1%, along with the Jewish 1% and the Buddhist 1%, and the many of the Christian 3 and 4 and 8%, and the Interfaith Alliance represented almost 500,000 members. So we felt empowered in a way that we are part of a federation of religions that are represented strong in our state.
The Interfaith Alliance of Oklahoma is geared towards social work. The organization works with other agencies, such as the Regional Food Bank, the YWCA, and Habitat for Humanity. In addition, the Interfaith Alliance hosts community dinners, bus tours to the various houses of worship, and other gatherings.
Went called something beyond coexistence, right? Coexistence is, tolerating, that we want to go above and beyond, where people come together, work towards common good, where people of different religion actually rub elbows with other people, realizing that, despite that tag that we might carry, we're humans, and that we care. There's no Muslim air, there's no Christian water. The environment is something that we all live in. Oklahoma belong to all of us.
We saw during that period of time a kind of, I think, spiritual renewal in downtown Oklahoma City. I think that was one of the great outcomes of that, is that people were kinder and gentle. They talk about the Oklahoma standard. Well, that doesn't just come out of anywhere. It doesn't just happen. It's because you got people whose hearts are geared to helping and a love that's supernatural, as I see it. And I saw so much of that during that period of time. And like I said, I think most of the churches in Oklahoma City grew during that time.
What's kept me here is the kids, the mission of these kids need our help just as much as a student at another school. I admire these kids because they have to overcome so much to get here.
I think the memories, more than anything, is what keeps me here. I interact with the students. I have a lot of connection with them. I have a lot of memories as well.
For the staff of Emerson High School, the events surrounding April 19th reaffirm their dedication to education. The educators share their memories from that time to teach younger generations about the events of 1995.
We'll have a time where we'll talk about it, and we'll maybe look at some video clips about it, but we'll also talk about how our building was impacted and, what happened.
In addition to their lessons, each year the 3 teachers commemorate April 19th.
That we won't forget. And so we create banners, and there used to be a fence out here on the south end of the school, and we would take cups and we would spell it out every year. We didn't miss it, we haven't missed a year. But now we hang a flag out in front of the school in the old entrance there on the east side, And we also put our banners up and whatnot that we have as far as memorabilia to let everyone know that we were here, and we do remember, we will remember, and we respect that most definitely. We'll never forget that. We will never forget.